Who is that handsome, chiseled Thal leader? Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. When I was watching Planet of the Daleks yesterday and the Thals show up, I thought the leader looked incredibly familiar, but I couldn't quite place him. I knew that face. Unfortunately, my wife is the one in the family who actually, recognizes people. I am absolutely terrible at that. So anyway, I racked my brain and did a little research and finally figured out he has appeared in a couple of other Doctor Who stories. Now, one of them, the big one that most people remember him for, I haven't quite gotten to yet on this time round. He's one of the key Gallifreyan characters in The Deadly Assassin, but I won't get to that for a couple of months yet. And he was also one of the members of the Gallifreyan High Council in the War Games that sentenced the Second Doctor to exile on Earth. But that's not where I recognized him from. I finally figured it out. I recognized him from, of all things, The Mind Robber. Do you remember that one? That's the weird one where Fraser Hines got sick and had to take off a couple of weeks, and instead of writing his character out of the story, they just cast another actor to play the part for 2 weeks, and they just had Jamie turn into a paper figure and then turn into someone else, and then when Fraser Hines got back, they just turned him back. That was a really weird pantomime high concept story. And in that one, Bernard Horsfall played the part of Gulliver, who appears several times throughout the story and delivers key dialogue and really helps explain what's going on to the characters. And he is a great presence. It is no surprise to me that he came up through the theater, spent a lot of time at the Old Vic and in the Royal Shakespeare Society. He was acting in the BBC dramas from the 1950s all the way well up into the 90s until he eventually semi-retired and moved off to a little island in Scotland. He did come back to act in one or two things in the 21st century, but really not much at all. Sadly, I see he passed away back in 2013. But in any case, he left a strong enough impression on me from Mind Robber that I recognized him instantly in Planet of the Daleks, even if I couldn't quite place him without some research. So anyway, here's to Bernard Horsfall. I feel like I'm talking a lot this week about dead actors, and that's kind of depressing, especially in a given climate. But when you're talking about a show that's been running almost 60 years, that's gonna happen. Anyway, I do have one cool thing to talk about regarding today's viewing in Planet of the Daleks. The third episode was, of course, everything else in the Jon Pertwee era, filmed in color. But somewhere along the way, the original color version was lost. And so for years and years and years, all we had was a black and white version of the third episode. And there are a couple others in the Pertwee era in the same state from early on. And the colorization of those ones was really kind of not great. I mean, not horrible, but not great. This one, the color restoration, it turns out they actually used minute traces somehow of color particles on the film to reinstate the original color, at least as a helper. And the fact is, had I not been told that this was a colorization of black and white, I never would have noticed. I mean, because I was aware of it, I was looking for details and I could see some things where maybe the colors were a little oversaturated here and there, but it wasn't the kind of thing that just jumped out and made itself blinding obvious. So good job on the restoration. And that's about all I have interesting to talk about today, so I'm going to wrap it up and, yeah. I will see you tomorrow.